Hello, viewers. Welcome to another episode of the Haider Rifaat Show Season 8 specials. I'm your host, Haider Rifaat, and joining me today is Todd Shea, who is the founder and CEO of CDRS, which stands for Comprehensive Disaster Response Services. What this nonprofit basically does is it's involved in a lot of humanitarian work, and we'll be talking at length about the mission of CDRS and the kind of projects that they've been managing, particularly in the context of accessibility to clean drinking water in Pakistan, which is a huge issue, especially following the floods that we witnessed a few months ago. So thank you so much, Todd, for sparing time for this interview.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Haider.
Yes. So Todd, what really motivated you to start CDRS, particularly in the context of Pakistan?
Well, I had been going to several disasters since 9/11, where I really was just a musician who 9/11 happened while I happened to be in New York, and I responded and ended up realizing I was good at logistics, but had never had any training or opportunity or intention before 9/11 to do disaster relief work. But after that, it changed me, and I pursued that and ended up going to many places. In that year of the earthquake, I'd also been to the tsunami in Sri Lanka. I'd been to the Hurricane Katrina. And literally the day I got back from my deployment of Hurricane Katrina was the same day of the earthquake. And I saw it on TV within 5 minutes of coming in the door to sit down with my son and think that I was going to relax a little bit. Then I saw the disaster. So I went as a volunteer with a group of Pakistani American doctors after getting their number from the Pakistan embassy and volunteering. So it was in Pakistan that I actually started CDRS. After being in Pakistan, I was only supposed to be there for 2 weeks. 2 weeks became 2 months, then became 6 months. I was asked by the doctors to stay. And then after that, when it was time to go back home after the emergency, a lot of people were asking me to stay, saying that other organizations had left. And I was like, well, I don't really have any organization or anything. I'd love to stay. And a couple friends in the Pakistan Army who were brigadiers suggested that, why don't you start your own organization? That would be great. And we'd love to have you here and we'll help you. So that began the process of saying, okay, there's a lot of need here. I've fallen in love with the country and the culture and the food and the music and the mountains and especially the children. And so that led me to starting CDRS, and here I am still almost 18 years later.
That's great. I've seen your website and you're doing some fantastic work. So thank you for your service in regards to helping, kind of like alleviate the burden of the floods and whatever projects have been taking shape. So thank you for that. What are some of the goals of CDRS? Because I'm familiar that it's more geared towards humanitarian work, animal welfare, women, children, orphans, floods. But what is the main goal of CDRS? And if you can also highlight some of the main projects that you're doing right now.
Well, CDRS is, in a nutshell, the main thing is to alleviate suffering and serve human beings and animals and try to give them hope, give them sustenance. And when they're in a bad situation, like either a disaster or a disaster just for them, whether it's an earthquake or tsunami, or whether it's just an individual who is suffering from injury or hunger or whatever it is. That's our main goal, is to alleviate as much suffering as possible. And we would love to do that all over the world, but obviously we only have so much capacity and we have our limitations. And that has, it's one of those things where if the earthquake had happened somewhere else in 2005, maybe I would have had CDRS somewhere else and I would have been somewhere else, because it was really about humanity. I've stayed in Pakistan because I've loved it here, but there's also a tremendous amount of need. So we've concentrated here. I've been to many other countries in, for a month or two for the emergency phase of disaster relief operations, like, the tsunami in Japan, the Philippines during typhoon, the Rohingya camps at the border between Myanmar and Bangladesh. So I have been in other places as well. But I have a team of 100 employees here. We focused on Pakistan because there's a lot of need. And because my team and I have been built on logistics, disaster logistics, we do logistics well. When it's not a disaster and you've mastered disaster logistics, logistics is actually quite simple and easy when it's not necessarily a disaster going on. So we've taken that logistics theme into development work. So we've continued doing disaster relief work. Even this past flood last year, we're still working on a mission. We're building houses and have been building houses after the emergency phase. And we've worked all through COVID, delivering food packs to people who had been economically devastated all over the country from the effects of the COVID pandemic on Pakistan's economy. We've even helped people in America during COVID and worked with some Pakistani American friends to help poor people in America because we're registered in the US as well as Pakistan. And now we also do development work. Like we have over 700 water projects throughout the country, from Gilgit-Baltistan all the way down to Karachi and in between, Balochistan, Thar Desert, areas that have a shortage, scarcity of water or contaminated water. So we do everything from hand pumps right up to large reverse osmosis water filtration systems. And then we have House of Blessings for widows and orphans in Karachi and in Rawalpindi, and we want to expand that. And we have an animal welfare program, which has made history in Pakistan by having the first trap, neuter, vaccinate, release center for depopulation of stray dogs in an Islamically permissible and humane way. The first of its kind ever in Pakistan. It's a beautiful facility in Gulberg Greens, Islamabad. And we also have a same going up in Karachi as well. That's going online just this month, actually. And we have started the very first national ambulance rescue service for animals ever in Pakistan, with six vehicles fleet in several cities of Pakistan, as well as the very first agreement between an NGO and a government entity in Pakistan for not killing and poisoning shooting dogs, but rather through trap, neuter, vaccinate, release. And we've done that with the government in Skurdu. And we're hoping that we have more and more as time goes by, once we show them that the model that Turkey has done so well with depopulating stray dogs in a humane way, in an Islamically permissible, environmentally safe, scientifically proven effective way, that also helps to eradicate rabies and dog bite cases and all those issues. So all these things are where we saw gaps in Pakistan, gaps in the system, gaps in aid, gaps programs that are needed. So we tend to work to serve humanity in ways that we see gaps in the existing system, or no system at all in some cases, like with the dog depopulation campaign. So we're just starting a new system based on the Turkish model. So as a logistics disaster humanitarian organization, we look for those places where there's gaps in the system that we have some capacity to help make that problem not as bad as it is. And we're in it for the long haul to do these types of things. So main thing is the water, care for widows and orphans, disaster relief, and also we build schools and homes for any donor who needs that done, and then of course the animal welfare.
I also want to talk to you about the water crisis in Pakistan right now. There were 20 bottled brands that were declared unsafe for public consumption. And also following the floods, which occurred a few months ago, over 10 million people do not have access to sanitary water. So when you have a natural catastrophe like this, what does an organization like CDRS do to sustain this problem and have solutions for this problem long term?
So what CDRS does is provides small communities, rural areas that don't have access to drinking water, or the access is fairly far away, or the water they have is contaminated. So what we can do is on a small scale make projects that serve up to 10,000 people. Sometimes it's a small village of just a few hundred people, but the idea is to find out geographically what solution is best for them. And in Pakistan, the geography is very different depending on where you're at. You're in the mountains, or you're in the desert, or in the plains, or sometimes a river is very far away. Sometimes there's very little rainfall in certain areas. It just depends on the topography and geography and the water situation in that particular place. There's a lot of different solutions that we can employ to get a small community or a small town water. Pipe distribution systems like we have in several mountainous areas, and some cooey systems that rely on some canals. And we actually use the bank of the canal as a filter, and then we again filter it, and then store water in the water that comes into a tank for people to be able to use. And then there's other ways of treating the water if you need it. If the TDS level, the minerals and the salt, is too high, then you have to have reverse osmosis filtration, which is a bit more expensive. And then sometimes you need solar power for that, because some villages don't have electricity. So these are the kinds of things we can do. When you talk about the bottled waters that are contaminated and the floods that the rivers aren't controlled as well as they should be, and more dams and barrages should be put up. This is something that unfortunately only the government can really do. So the people of Pakistan, for those macro solutions, for dams and for more, I guess, regulation of companies that do bottled water to make sure that they're safe and filtered properly so that they aren't contaminated when the public consumes them. These are things that the public has to pressurize their government to do, and the government, we need good and responsible people to enforce the rules, and we need good and responsible businessmen and companies to make safe products for people. There's this water problem is at several levels. So a lot of it in Pakistan is governance and managing the resources, and holding people accountable for, if they are not doing safe practices in their businesses. And then the other, even bigger than that, is the population of Pakistan and the fact that it keeps growing, and yet the water resources are even dwindling as we speak because of climate change. So between the population problem as it keeps growing and the water resources from climate change being perhaps more scarce sometimes, and then with floods, you get too much water. So it's like feast or famine. Sometimes there's too much water coming through the pipeline and nobody can control it, or sometimes it's not enough. So these are things that worldwide with climate change, we're dealing with more and more. And Pakistan is one of those flashpoint countries where climate change is affecting it most. And those things, while CDRS would love to be a part of any national effort to guard against the damage and situations that occur due to climate change, we are just not big enough, powerful enough, or have enough money or resources to tackle that problem. That's going to have to be something that the whole nation gets behind and that the government gets behind. And I hope that happens. As long as we keep the political fights going on where everybody's distracted and focused on the fighting, well, then the work that the government and the people need done is unfortunately gets put on the back burner or doesn't happen at all on the scale that it needs to. And so I pray for Pakistan But the problems associated with water are just way bigger than any not only one NGO, but all of the NGOs put together that are trying to help provide water. It's like what we're providing is maybe some Band-Aid or surgery, minor surgery on the problem when the patient actually needs major surgery.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And do you think, in your view, the government of Pakistan has been resilient enough to address the water crisis that the country is experiencing?
No, I definitely don't think so. And I think again it goes back to um, people are so focused on staying in power or fighting or the other party that wants to come into power, and there's so much of that fighting that goes on that I've literally seen approvals and NOCs and other government work that we've done with the government get stalled because there's a crisis and then nobody does anything because nobody knows what's going to happen. Then a government gets kicked out and another one comes in and you got to start the whole process over again, or the process gets completely canceled. It's like it's tough to get anything done when there's major problems that need to be faced, but everyone is distracted by the political theater and the instability that's caused by it. So it's unfortunate, but the fact is that Pakistan really does need, with these problems that we're going to be facing in the coming next quarter of a century and beyond, with population, with water, with the resources, with the climate change and the melting of glaciers and the environmental impact of having so many people that have to be fed and cared for. It's going to be a problem that Pakistan should try to figure out its best of how it's going to deal with this problem, because it's not going to go away. It's not going to get any better by sticking our heads in the sand or ignoring it. So the more we focused on all together as a nation, politically fighting each other and focusing on just our own selves, and maybe being selfish and greedy sometimes to the point where we don't think of others. Well, that's going to be the very type of thinking and action that is going to just lead Pakistan to more and more man-made and natural disasters. So we all really have to come together, and it comes down to teamwork. Pakistan has a lot of individual brilliance. It has a lot of very capable people, but because of a system that doesn't come together with teamwork, and because of a system that has too many people, you can say, drawing from the well for their personal gain, but not thinking of the country. This type of thinking is going to lead to a lot more suffering of our children. So if we want to think about what to do for all of our children collectively, our own children as well as others, we have to love them more and somehow figure out a way for the government to be stable and to be attentive to the problems that Pakistan is going to be facing and already is facing. And if we don't do that, then no NGOs are going to be able to save Pakistan.
Yeah, I think it all boils down to collective responsibility and just looking beyond yourself. So thank you so much, Todd. Your organization is doing some great work. I'll leave the link in my description box. So if anybody wants to know more about CDRS, they're welcome to donate, contribute in whatever capacity that they can. Thank you so much, Todd, for sparing time for this interview. Take care.
Thank you, Haider. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, thank you so much, viewers. That is all for now. Stay tuned for more on my official YouTube channel and Facebook page. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.